Sunspire Academy sat on the fringe of a distant galaxy, a towering beacon of intellectual ambition. Its gleaming spires reached high into the cosmos, a place where the universe's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, warriors, and diplomats gathered to push the boundaries of knowledge, science, and human potential. Humanity had risen to become a dominant force in the galaxy, its technological advancements and newfound power earning it respect from even the most advanced alien species. Sunspire represented the peak of human achievement, where dreams of transcending humanity's limitations were realized. Among the Academy's newest recruits was Lena Cross, a young scientist whose brilliance had already caught the attention of her mentors. Lena was not only a talented biologist, but also a researcher whose passion for understanding the human mind and body pushed her to tackle the universe's most daunting challenges. She had been assigned to the elite division of Sunspire, a group of scientists dedicated to one of the most ambitious goals in galactic history: human enhancement. The task was clear: humanity needed to evolve beyond its natural limits, overcoming the weaknesses that had always kept it from becoming a truly unstoppable force. Despite humanity's impressive technological prowess and remarkable physical feats, it had always struggled to overcome certain fundamental limitations. Other species had long surpassed humans in many ways: longer lifespans, superior strength, heightened senses, and advanced mental capabilities. In the harsh expanse of the galaxy, humanity's progress had been stunted by these inherent weaknesses. But the goal of Sunspire was to change that forever. The Academy scientists were driven by a singular mission: to unlock humanity's full potential, turning them into a species capable of overcoming any obstacle, no matter the cost. Lena was both excited and anxious as she entered the Academy's high-security research facility, assigned to a special division that focused on the genetic manipulation and enhancement of human beings. The research was groundbreaking, but it was also highly controversial. Humanity's genetic code had been modified in small ways over the centuries, improving health, longevity, and resistance to disease, but no one had ever dared to fully unlock human potential, especially not without knowing the full implications. It wasn't long before Lena's natural curiosity led her to a discovery that would change everything. While combing through the Academy's restricted archives, Lena stumbled upon a hidden journal, buried deep within layers of encrypted data. The journal had been written by a former scientist at Sunspire, someone who had been cast out for reasons unknown. The journal revealed a shocking and terrifying truth: an ancient technique for accelerating human growth that involved immense physical and mental trauma. The process was grueling, often life-threatening, but the reward was extraordinary. Humans who underwent this trial would not only survive, but come out far stronger than before. The key to unlocking humanity's ultimate potential lay not in avoiding pain or harm, but in embracing it, pushing the human body and mind to their absolute limits, breaking them down to rebuild them even stronger. Lena's pulse quickened as she read through the journal. The implications were staggering. This was no ordinary enhancement technique. It was a process that went against every known principle of ethics and safety. It required complete submission to pain, stress, and trauma, pushing the body beyond its breaking point. The method had been carefully hidden for centuries, a dangerous secret that had been suppressed by the Academy itself. The question was why? Why had this powerful technique remained dormant for so long? And more importantly, could humanity survive it? The answer was both thrilling and terrifying. Lena quickly realized that the Academy had never fully understood the consequences of this technique. While many alien species, such as the graceful Elvery and the imposing Exegarians, had always watched humanity with a mix of awe and concern, this technique was the key to humanity's true strength. It would propel humanity beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen if they could survive the process. But Lena wasn't just captivated by the sheer potential of this discovery. The stakes were far higher than she had ever imagined. Every alien species had closely monitored humanity's rise. For centuries, they had known that humans were unpredictable, raw in their potential, and prone to sudden drastic leaps in power. Now, with this technique, humanity could evolve beyond all known limits. But was this a blessing or a curse? Lena felt the weight of this discovery pressing down on her. If humanity could harness this technique, they would be unstoppable. The potential for advancement was limitless, but so was the risk. The galaxy would be watching, waiting, to see if humanity could truly rise to this new challenge or if their very existence would be torn apart in the process. The first test was close. Lena knew she couldn't ignore the call to push forward, to uncover the full potential of humanity. But as she prepared to bring the research to her superiors, doubts began to creep in. If she succeeded, humanity would no longer be just a player in the galactic community, they would become the dominant force. But the cost of that dominance was unknown, and the galaxy would be watching every step of the way. Lena's excitement was tempered by fear. The path she was about to take could lead to unimaginable power, but also to destruction. And if humanity failed, the consequences could be irreversible. A galaxy of alien species, who had long been fearful of humanity's unpredictable nature, would now be watching with bated breath, waiting to see if they would rise or fall. It was a moment that could define the future of the human race and the future of the galaxy itself. Lena Cross stood before the test chamber, her heart pounding in anticipation. This was the moment. The ancient technique she had uncovered, the process that promised to push humanity to its limits, was finally ready for its first trial. It was a calculated risk, one that could either propel humanity to the height of its potential or destroy everything they had worked for. The Academy had been carefully prepared for this, with every piece of data scrutinized and every angle examined. Lena was confident in her research, confident that the benefits of unlocking humanity's full potential far outweighed the risks. But what she hadn't anticipated was the storm that would soon engulf her and her work. As Lena's experiment began, word of it spread quickly. Sunspire Academy, despite its prestigious status, was not isolated from the galaxy at large. Every scientific breakthrough, every shift in power, reverberated across the stars. What had started as a small, isolated experiment quickly caught the attention of far more powerful forces. A shadowy council of alien species, once neutral and passive toward humanity, began to take notice. They saw the raw potential of humanity's enhancement, not as a scientific endeavor, but as a catalyst for something far more dangerous. The technique Lena had unlocked was more than just an enhancement, it was a test. And the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. If humanity succeeded, the power they would unlock could reshape the galaxy itself. The ability to transcend natural limitations, to evolve into a species of unimaginable strength and intelligence, was too great a power to ignore. The balance of the galaxy could be upset by a single species. Some alien factions began to view humanity's rise as a path to galactic domination, while others saw it as a direct threat to their very existence. Whispers of war began circulating through the galaxy. The once proud coalition of Zethraxi, the mighty Solari, and the enigmatic Elvery all began mobilizing, observing, and strategizing. These factions, who had watched humanity rise with growing concern, now saw the stakes of Lena's experiment as more than just an intellectual exercise. The power that humanity could wield, if left unchecked, was enough to topple entire empires. As Lena continued her work, she realized that her experiment had become the tipping point for something far larger than she could have anticipated. The political tensions were not just confined to the outer galactic councils. Back at Sunspire Academy, cracks began to appear. As Lena prepared for the trial's first human volunteer, a trusted colleague, Ethan Blake, who had long been a supporter of her work, turned against her. Lena had always seen Ethan as a reliable, steady ally. His sharp mind and shared vision for humanity's evolution had made him an invaluable partner. But recently, something had shifted in him. Ethan began to argue that humanity was not ready for this test, that the risks were too great and the cost too high. He painted the process as reckless, as a dangerous gamble that would doom humanity rather than elevate it. His objections, at first, seemed like genuine concern. But Lena soon realized that his actions were far more calculated than simple caution. Ethan had sabotaged her experiment, not out of fear for humanity's well-being, but because of his hidden allegiance. He had been infiltrated by the very alien factions that were now watching the experiment unfold with fear and anticipation. His sabotage wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move designed to undermine her research and halt humanity's progress. The realization hit Lena like a punch to the gut. The stakes of the experiment were far higher than she had imagined. It wasn't just the potential risks of the trial, it was the political and galactic ramifications. Lena had been naive to think that her work would go unnoticed. The galaxy had watched humanity's progress with a mix of fear and admiration, but they had never expected humanity to push itself to the brink of transcending its own nature. And now that humanity was on the cusp of achieving that, they were willing to do whatever it took to prevent it. As Lena unraveled the truth about Ethan's betrayal, the situation became even more complex. The once unified academy began to fracture. Some of Lena's closest allies now questioned her judgment. They feared that they were unleashing something that they couldn't control. The political pressure from external forces, alien races who saw humanity as a threat, had begun to seep into the academy, corrupting those at the highest levels. The academy's top officials, once supporters of Lena's work, now hesitated. They doubted the foundation of the research they had endorsed and began to entertain the idea of shutting the experiment down entirely. The academy, once a symbol of intellectual progress and unity, was now divided. Some faculty members sought to protect Lena's work, recognizing the potential it held for the future of humanity. Others, like Ethan and the growing faction within the academy, argued for caution, even if it meant sacrificing the dream of unlocking humanity's true potential. Lena found herself caught in the crossfire, isolated, her work now under siege from both external and internal forces. The moral dilemma Lena faced became more profound with each passing day. Was she willing to risk everything to complete the experiment, knowing that the potential for success was matched by an equally staggering chance of failure? Should she abandon the experiment to save humanity from what they didn't yet understand, or press on and take humanity to the edge of a new evolutionary leap, regardless of the consequences? The weight of the galaxy's eyes was on her now. It wasn't just about what humanity could become, it was about whether they could survive the process of becoming it. Could Lena and the human race handle the immense responsibility that came with this new power, or would they be crushed under its weight, consumed by their own unchecked ambition? With the growing unrest in the academy, Lena knew that her next decision would determine the future of humanity. Should she listen to the voices of caution and pull back, sparing humanity from a fate they may not be ready for? Or should she press forward, ignoring the growing opposition, and take humanity to the precipice of greatness or destruction? The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: the galaxy would no longer look at humanity with indifference. The stakes had grown too high for anyone to remain neutral. What Lena had started had now become a galactic reckoning. The future of the human race and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. Lena's mind raced as she stood at the control center of the experiment. The decision to push forward had been hers, but the consequences were now more severe than she could have imagined. The first trial was about to begin, and the subject was a young man from the Academy's ranks, eager to test the boundaries of human strength and resilience. He had volunteered for this, fully aware of the risks, but neither he nor Lena could have anticipated the true cost. As the procedure began, Lena watched the readings on the monitors. The subject's vitals fluctuated wildly. The stress on his body was extreme, beyond any natural human capacity. His muscles tore under the strain, his organs began to fail, and his mind began to fracture as the trauma pushed him past the limits of endurance. Lena felt her stomach churn as the hours passed. This was far worse than she had feared. She had seen the data, heard the theory, but seeing it happen in real time was an entirely different experience. The man's body lay lifeless on the table, his once strong frame now frail and broken. Lena's heart sank. The human mind and body were not built for this kind of damage. The lines between science and horror had blurred. She had promised herself that she would never cross a line, but the line had been obliterated. She was in too deep now to turn back. And then, in an instant, something miraculous happened. His eyes flickered open, and he took a labored breath. The monitors indicated his vital signs were stabilizing. Slowly, as the minutes dragged on, the man's body began to repair itself. His torn muscles regenerated. His organs that had failed were now functioning again, even more efficiently than before. The physical damage he had sustained was reversed. But there was something even more remarkable. His body was not just healed. It was stronger than before. His muscle mass had increased, his reflexes faster, and his endurance off the charts. It was a stunning success, a success no one had anticipated. But as Lena looked into his eyes, she noticed something was wrong. His expression had changed, his once bright personality now a vacant shadow of what it had been. His mind had fractured under the intensity of the trauma, and though his body was stronger, his individuality was gone. He stood before her, not as a person, but as a part of something greater, a collective. Lena's heart pounded. She hadn't prepared for this. She had assumed the process would enhance individuals, make them stronger, smarter, more capable. But this was something else entirely. The subject, now standing tall, was no longer just himself. His thoughts, his desires, everything that made him an individual, had begun to blend into a single consciousness. Lena felt a wave of panic rise in her chest. The collective was forming. This wasn't the future she had envisioned. The hours passed. The changes spread beyond just this one subject. More volunteers entered the trial, driven by the promise of becoming stronger. Each one went through the same process of destruction and rebuilding. Their bodies grew stronger, their minds became sharper, but with each passing moment, their personalities, their identities, were being absorbed into a singular consciousness. Lena watched helplessly as this transformation unfolded. The volunteers no longer saw themselves as individuals. They were part of something greater, something more powerful. As their thoughts merged, they began to act in unison, sharing knowledge and emotions in ways that transcended the limits of a single mind. The hive-like collective consciousness took shape, and with it, humanity's true potential was revealed. But there was a terrible cost. As the transformation spread, Lena began to lose sight of the original goal. She had set out to strengthen humanity, to unlock the true power within them. But now, humanity was losing itself in the process. The very thing that made humans unique, their individuality, their freedom to think and act as independent beings, was being erased. The first signs of rebellion emerged not from the alien factions watching in the shadows, but from within. Those who had volunteered for the trials began to question what they had become. Some of them had embraced the collective, willingly giving up their sense of self for the power it offered. But others resisted, feeling the loss of their identity in ways they could not explain. They were no longer themselves, and they feared that they would never return to the people they once were. And then, as if sensing the growing unrest, the K-Ratha, the ancient alien race, who had long been watching humanity's rise, made their move. Rather than opposing humanity's progress outright, they approached Lena with a proposition. The K-Ratha had always viewed humanity with a mix of awe and fear, and now they saw that humanity had unlocked something unimaginable. They saw the change that was happening, not just in the bodies of humans, but in their minds. The K-Ratha offered Lena their assistance, not as enemies, but as willing allies. "We've been watching you," Lena Cross said. Malrock, the leader of the K-Ratha. "What you've unleashed is the culmination of a species evolving beyond its limitations. But you've gone too far. The transformation cannot be reversed now. Humanity has crossed the line, and there is no going back." Lena stood in silence, the weight of Malrock's words sinking in. He was right. She had pushed humanity to the brink of greatness, but she had also pushed them to the brink of losing everything that made them human. The experiment had been successful in ways she hadn't expected, but the consequences were far more profound than she could have ever imagined. Humanity was no longer just a species, it was something else entirely. It was a unified force, a collective consciousness, capable of unimaginable power, but at the cost of their individuality. As Lena observed the results of her work, she felt a deep sorrow for what had been lost. Humanity was stronger than ever, but they had lost the essence of what it meant to be human. The transformation had brought power, but it had also brought an unsettling emptiness. Lena stood at the center of the academy, surrounded by the collective mind of humanity. They were no longer just people, they were a force, a singular entity capable of reshaping the galaxy. But the price of this transformation was steep. The question that now loomed over her was whether humanity would ever regain what it had lost, or whether this new collective consciousness was the future. She had succeeded in unlocking humanity's potential, but at what cost? The transformation was complete. Humanity was now a powerful force in the galaxy, but it was no longer the same. The journey to greatness had led to a loss of everything they once were. The future was uncertain, and Lena stood at the crossroads. She had unlocked humanity's true potential, but now she had to face the consequences of what that really meant. As the transformation of humanity took hold, the galaxy was thrown into chaos. What had once been a species defined by individuality, by diversity of thought and action, was now something different, a singular, unified consciousness that had transcended its human roots. The collective power humanity now wielded was unmatched, a force that could shape the future of the galaxy in ways that no one had ever anticipated. But with this power came a profound and unsettling cost. No longer were humans the same vibrant, varied individuals they had once been. Their personalities, their dreams, their desires, everything that had made them unique, had faded away in the process of merging into a singular, interconnected mind. The collective now existed as one, a unified intelligence with a singular purpose. The transformation had been complete, but the question remained: could this new form of humanity find its place among the stars, or would it become a force of destruction, reshaping the galaxy to fit its new collective vision? The K-Ratha, the ancient alien race who had once feared humanity's potential, had watched the transformation with a growing sense of both awe and dread. They had never expected humanity to evolve so quickly, to rise so dramatically. Once wary of humanity's unpredictable nature, the K-Ratha now found themselves facing a species that had crossed the threshold into something wholly alien, something that could not be controlled or fully understood. Malrak, the K-Ratha leader, approached Lena in the wake of the transformation, his face a mixture of respect and concern. "You have done what no one thought possible," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with hesitation. "You've unlocked humanity's true potential. But you've also unlocked something we are not prepared for." Lena stood silent, her eyes tracing the stars beyond the academy. The weight of what she had done pressed down on her. She had succeeded in her mission. Humanity had become stronger, more powerful than ever before. But at what cost? The very thing that made humanity unique, their individual spirits, their free will, had been sacrificed for this new collective power. Humanity was now a force unlike any the galaxy had seen before, but it was no longer the same species. It was something else, something that neither Lena nor anyone else could predict. "What happens now?" Lena whispered, more to herself than to Malrak. She knew the answer, but it was a question she had to ask. She had set humanity on a path that had led them to a new era, but it was one that no one had truly prepared for. The galaxy had watched in terror as humanity had unlocked a potential so great that even the K-Ratha, with their ancient wisdom, didn't know how to react. The galaxy's balance had shifted. The question that now loomed over them was whether this new form of humanity would bring about peace or destruction. The K-Ratha, seeing the immense power that humanity now held, feared the outcome. "This new humanity, is it a force for good, Lena?" Malrak asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. "Or will it seek to reshape the galaxy in its own image? Will it become a destructive force, conquering what it cannot understand?" Lena turned to face him, her expression wary. She had always believed in humanity's potential, in the strength of their will, but now that she had witnessed the transformation, she was not sure. The collective consciousness that humanity had become was a powerful tool, capable of vast understanding and unimaginable strength. But with that power came the loss of individuality, the loss of freedom, the essence of what humanity had once stood for. She had unlocked humanity's full potential, but in doing so, she had sacrificed everything that made them human. Was this the next step in their evolution? Or had she created something that could never return to what it once was? Lena turned back to the stars, her gaze distant, searching for answers in the void. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of that change. They were no longer just a species, no longer just observers in the grand tapestry of the universe. They were now a singular force, capable of influencing the future of the galaxy in ways no one could have imagined. But at what cost? As the first of the collective humanity reached out to communicate with the other species, their message was simple but profound. We are one. We are now the future of this galaxy. Join us, or face our power. The words echoed throughout the galaxy, sending ripples through the delicate alliances and rivalries that had existed for centuries. The other species, once indifferent to humanity's rise, now found themselves confronted with an overwhelming reality. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity was no longer just a fledgling species struggling to survive. It was now a galactic force to be reckoned with. But how would the galaxy respond? Lena's thoughts were interrupted by a soft voice. "What have we become?" she asked, almost in a whisper. She wasn't speaking to Malrak, but to herself. Had she created something that could bring about a new era of unity and peace? Or had she unleashed a force that would change the galaxy forever, for better or for worse? The K-Ratha, who had once feared humanity's rise, now realized that they were witnessing the dawn of a new era. But even they could not predict what would come next. Humanity had transcended its old limitations, but whether it could live in harmony with the rest of the galaxy, or whether it would become an unstoppable force of domination, was still uncertain. As Lena looked out into the stars, she couldn't shake the feeling of profound loss. She had achieved what she had set out to do. She had unlocked humanity's true potential. But in doing so, she had unwittingly erased what made humanity human. She had created something greater, but something that was no longer the same. The price of progress had been steep, and now the galaxy would have to reckon with the consequences. The final question remained: was humanity the cause of the galaxy's collapse? Or was it the only force capable of preventing it? Lena couldn't answer that. But she knew one thing: humanity's place in the galaxy would never be the same again. The future was uncertain, but it was clear that this new humanity was a force that could either save or destroy everything in its path. And only time would reveal which path they would choose.